A'udhu billahi minash shayatin rajim. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So we're talking about 400 years. As mathematics students, we have to understand chattel slavery. Let's read what the Bible says about the prophecy. And he said, and when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Abram, and lo, and horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he, God, said unto Abram, know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a strange land that is not theirs, and shall afflict them, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them for 400 years. Slavery. So let us understand. Math analysis. That's all it is. You say you want to be this and you want to be that. No, you want to be a doctor of mathematics first to get your mind correct from 400 years. This is a cage from year 1 to year 400. You was in a cage. The black man and black woman in America was in a cage 400 years. This has destroyed how you think. We as black people in America do not think correctly. Let us understand. The black man and black woman in America does not think correctly. It's a severity handicap. When you go out in society, when they set us free, somewhere up in this part right here, Emancipation Proclamation, they set us free, mentally destroyed, where people can just take advantage of us. People in society that do not have a history of chattel slavery think totally separate. Think totally separate to how me and you think. That's why we are in last place in everything. And it is only the few that they elect and give them a book and allow them to read and make all types of discoveries for them. But if we was to think correctly, we would make them discoveries for ourselves. How can you invent the gun or the car engine or the cellular phone or the video game or the spaceship or the satellite or the television or the sewing machine, the cotton gin? How can you invent them things and give it to someone else and let them become financially dominant over you and oppress your people? And you say nothing. You get a BMW in a nice house. They get countries with people. Like, how do you think that is normal? Because you have done 400 years of slavery. Now, I think the brother that did the cellular phone, I don't know if he was, I know he was black, but I think he might have been black Indian. So, we want to be correct. So, but that's the mindset. The mindset is let me have nothing for myself and let me give everything away. Because slavery, 400 years, has destroyed how we think. Just look at how we think and act, our behavior. In 2024, it's ridiculous. How can there be still something as finance, money, all of this money in the world, and we choose to be nothing? Because for 400 years, you were a slave. So let me get to my point, because we're talking again about math analysis. And you're here to learn mathematics. And I'm here to not only learn mathematics, but I'm here to teach it or educate it. I can't necessarily say I'm a teacher because I'm still learning and I don't have a doctorate. But I have understanding, and so it's a gradual process. It's a gradual process. All you need to do is read the book. Okay, so let us understand what the 400 years of slavery have done to us. If we go to Deuteronomy, these are just foundation points to where when we start talking about the math, you'll understand. It'll make sense. I think it's Deuteronomy 28:48. 28:48. Let's listen to what Deuteronomy says. Well, no, I think it's, hold on one second. It's not 28:48. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28. Oh, I spelled it incorrectly. Okay, yeah, that would be it, right? Hold on one second. Let's go to, if I go to, if we go to Deuteronomy, okay, if we go to Deuteronomy 28:48, let's listen to what God says now. Therefore shall thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against you in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed you. Right? So let's pay attention. Let me make sure I got everything in focus. Okay, yes. So this right here is 400 years of chattel slavery. Biblical prophecy that has come to pass. But let's talk about this time period right here. Now, we're not going to go all the way back to in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. We just talk about right here, we on the western coast of Africa. Western Africa, the coast. Right? Before we even talk about this right here, Western Africa, the coast, when we were in our homeland, where we come from. Therefore, shalt thou serve thine. Listen to what God was telling us. God was telling us this right here. God said, therefore, since you will not listen to what I am saying, you shall serve your enemies, which I shall send against you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. It's not going to matter rich or poor. You can scream and holler and beg for forgiveness. God says that they will seek me early, and I will not be there. In nakedness and in want of all things, and he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed you. So, this is what God told us, Deuteronomy 28. Right here, we was on the western coast of Africa. The European came down from Europe, up here, came down. Now we did 400 years of slavery. And listen to what God says. Until he has destroyed thee. So now, chattel slavery, to this point right here, Emancipation Proclamation was up in here. Then we go a little bit more, 2024. But this time period right here, destroyed. Right? So let's look at it now. Let's understand. So when something is destroyed, you can talk about the physical deterioration of the human body, correct? But then, when you come to find out what's going on, it's not physical. Like, it's good to be physically healthy, but it's your mind, what you thinking about. If your brain is not functioning correctly, then you are inadequate, inordinate human being. You don't know how to function in society. So, 400 years until you are destroyed. So we are destroyed mentally. But let us always understand, God says, seek ye first the kingdom. And seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and everything will be added unto you. So now, we done did 400 years, and we say we good, and we in American society, but we are not good. Homosexuality, we killing each other, diabetes, incarceration, we are destroyed. That's what the Bible says. I see if it wasn't true, but it is true. At every level, it don't even matter. At every level, the black man and black woman are destroyed. From chattel slavery, 400 years. So regardless of whatever you do and what you get from here, if you're not seeking ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, then you can learn and put your brain back together, but it's still not going to work for you because your foundation. What is God saying? Not no mathematics. What is God saying? Okay. So you really have to understand, seek ye first the kingdom of God. You have to really understand that now. So I said all of that, right? Now again, this is a mathematics meeting. It's not just a mathematics meeting. This is a math analysis meeting. We're going to learn math. We're going to master math analysis. The black man and black woman in America. What you talking about? We're going to master math analysis. Well, we're going to be masters of it. Math analysis. So this is my point. In my personal journey, not personal, but in my personal journey to put my brain back together, because I had sought the kingdom of God and God started showing me what it was. He said mathematics. And then from mathematics, I can do a lot of things. Not only did he say mathematics, he said math analysis. Why he say math analysis? He said math analysis because math analysis is that missing link to what's going on. When you start talking about what they call Egypt or Kemet, and you have these brothers and these sisters that are originating mathematics, originating everything, but they are originating math. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from math analysis. It's right here. But they don't ever tell you that. Why would I tell you that? You can put color in it and all of that, but look at it from a financial situation. If you don't know, and I know, always understand now with Kemet, it's the priests or the people that's the people that administer the religion. Whenever you talk about Kemet and the rulers, the ruler of Kemet, he is like a Jesus, right? Now that then changed up. Well, now the ruler of any type of situation got to be good, military, right? Got to be strong. Yeah, in Kemet you had to be that same way, but you had to have knowledge of God. You ain't got no knowledge of God, then you ain't nothing. That has completely changed. So it was the priests that were in the higher levels of how to do everything. We're going to get into the brother named Tutor. Tutor was they called him a god, but he was a master of metal. He can melt metal. That's just one example. So when you start talking about, well, how did these brothers do this? And how did these brothers do that? And when you start looking at the scrolls where it's mathematic calculations, how did they know how to do this and chart the stars? You even got the hieroglyphic. We still ain't even talked about that. Or the spaceship, what is that? So it's a higher level of consciousness. And so you be like, well, how are we going to learn that? We learn it right here, math analysis. Just cut through everything. Yeah, still calculus, you got to calculate. Still algebra, learning about the unknown, arithmetic, just basic numbers, adding it up, got to know how to add and subtract. Right? Then complex numbers. Complex numbers is something separate, right? But math analysis is a starting point. And if you're trying to, it's the original of a thing. How did it originate? Like, how did they originate that? How do you come up with a language? If we in Africa and we got people living in Europe, what they call Greece, and these people have no language. They have no language. They're walking around as animals, making sounds. They communicate with sounds, grunting noises. And you come and you originate the Latin language, it's either Latin or Greek. I get that, confused, but I think it's Greek then Latin or Latin then Greek. But either or, you originate a language for these people so they can communicate with each other. What type of intelligence is that? Well, that's mathematics. It's not only mathematics, it's math analysis. So we are going to use math analysis to put your brain back together where you can think like a human being. I'm going to give it to you like this. When you start learning about Moses, Moses went into Europe, the caves and hillsides of Europe, and he took with him something called tricknology, right? Now, in a devil environment, tricknology can be deceit. Now, that might be true as far as like deception. A lot of times you don't want people to know your business, correct? But the reality is that's not necessarily what tricknology is. See, it's just a language. But when you start learning math analysis, you start seeing how it's like a trickery and how you just read the sentences. Oh, you got to really understand what God is blessing us with. You got to really understand it. Okay, so let's keep it simple. Let's get it back down to level. So you're talking about 400 years. God say we done did 400 years. That done came to pass. After this is all up, we destroy. So now, when something is destroyed, you mentally destroy. You don't know how to think. So now you got to put your brain back together, right? So we're going to do that with math analysis. Now we didn't, when you start talking about chemistry, and then, the scripture says elevated places. So it's a spirit, correct? Our thoughts. And as we communicate with each other, this is communication. A lot of times we don't talk to each other. So I feel a certain way, or I think a certain way. You think a certain way. Well, you got to get all that cleaned up. Take it to that higher level. That's just communication. So now we done brought Kemet in, and we done started talking about all types of different situations, right? So I got to get back focused. Now again, you got all types of analysis. It's not just analysis. It's math analysis. But as we've progressed in learning, I might just say analysis, right? But I'm talking about math analysis. Always understand, I'm always talking about math analysis. Now, what I want to do as an educator, mathematician, well, I again, because I deal with professors, right? They real professors. Or they didn't put in the work. It's just work, right? You just got to work and learn. But as an educator, we do still have Dr. Tutor. Let me just put this up here, right? Dr. Tutor is real good. I tutor. Oh, I love to teach. I've been trying to get with some young people. Just give me $15. I give you a whole year subscription. I give you my contact information, and you pay me $15 for that whole year. Just, you can eat my email up. You got questions, this is what I do, such and such. So I'll be right there. So that's Dr. Tutor. I'll be tutoring, right? So that's actually that's actually real good. Okay. So having said that, let's see how we want to start. When you talk about math, it's certain basic foundations that you should know. One of those is this. Now, I don't know, like, you know, because time, like, I could just sit here and talk to you forever, right? But let's look at this, right? We got something called the absolute value. That's a variable and a symbol. So when we say variable, or we say multiple variables, a variable is just the alphabet, A, B, C, right? But we talking about numbers, but right now we talking about a variable. It ain't got to be A, B, C. You can do symbols. It could be 2 stripes. That could be a variable. It could be 1 stripe. It could be a plus sign. It's whatever you want it to be. But it's something called the unknown. You don't know what it is. Like 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. Has a value, has a value, has a value. This is a statement or a sentence. Got to start learning how to actually use that language and make it make sense. This is a sentence. Or you can have A plus B equals C. So when you say A, you don't know what A is from a number system. And see, from slavery, when they give you A plus B equals C as a slave, with the slave mentality, see, during slavery, we didn't have the freedom to think for ourselves. Somebody always thought for us. You got to understand that. It don't matter what level you on. For 400 years, somebody was thinking for you and just telling you what to do. So now you're talking about, I mean, of course you can solve this. I mean, you know what 1 is. You know what 1 is. You don't know what 1 do, but you know the value. But you don't know what it does. That's where analysis comes in. Well, what if it don't do nothing? Or what if it does something? But just in looking at the sentence, 1 plus 1 is 2. Because you know the value. Okay. What's A plus B? Not even what's A plus B, what's A? I don't know. Right? You see what I'm saying? Let's do it again. 1, what's 1? You don't really know what 1 is. You got to, like, what is 1? You see what I'm saying? Like, okay, so then you got to say, well, what do you mean? Don't just sit there dumbfounded. Your professor asks you, well, what is 1? Well, what do you mean? Because your professor got to put it in a certain type of environment. If he talking about what? 1 car, 1 school, 1 computer, what is he saying? But 1 plus 1 is what? It's 2. The reason why you know it's 2 is because of the plus sign. All of these things are real important. You got to know how to use it. If you just got 1 and 1, well, you don't know, it's just 1 and 1. You might say 11 because it looked like 11. That's for slavery, how we think. You ain't see the absolute symbol. You see what I'm saying? So 1 plus 1 is 2. Okay. Well, what's A plus B? Not only what is A plus B, like what is it equal to? How can it be equal to C? Like, how is that? What is A plus B? What is A? Black man, black woman, whoever watching, what is A? You don't know. Why don't you know? You don't know because when this was given to you during slavery, slave master said A is 1, B is 2. It was against the law. Listen what I'm trying to tell you. I'm not being over dramatic. I just want you to understand what this is, so you can put yourself together and get up out of here. Know for a surety, Abram, that your seed will be a stranger in a strange land and will do 400 years. And after that time, I will come and lift them up. You got all types of scripture. Exodus. And they will leave their captivity with the wealth of the country that they was enslaved in. What, you think that's not true? Of course it's not true. If you out here killing yourself, you gonna miss it. Because you ain't got no knowledge. So A plus B. We don't know what A is. We don't know what B is. During slavery, if you would have even thought about, well, listen, A, this is what A is. A is we gonna say A equals 10 cotton plants. Because we got to learn how to pick these cotton quicker so they won't kill us. So you say A equals 10 cotton plants. And then we're going to do an area, because I've been reading the Bible. And so we're going to do the rows, and these is, so that's what A is. Okay. So whatever they done named you that. Slavery. They say, well, listen, Johnny giving value to A. Well, bye-bye, Johnny. You seen Johnny hanging on a tree or burnt up, testicles cut off. Because you were not allowed to think to give a value to A. So now you ain't even talking about mathematics. You talking about, what the hell is you talking about? What if you ain't talking about learning math? What is you talking about? Business administration? I don't know. But what you have to know, that's a serious problem. It ain't even got anything to do with math. That's a serious problem. If you're giving something, this is what I'm trying to tell you. If you're giving something A, and if you can't in your mind make it mean something, well, you gotta wait for your slave master to come to tell you what it means. What the brother say? The brother say, those who control, those who give you your diameter, control the circumference, control the size of your circumference. So this is they gave us this diameter. You better not think for yourself. Compared to, and look, that's still on the whiteboard. Got to really understand that. Okay. But that was real good right there. I think we might have made a little bit of progress, right? A little bit. Let's do it one more time. We still talking about math analysis. We're talking about variable, right? Variable. Well, what's a variable? A variable represents an unknown. But see, the whole thing is that it is known because you say it's A. That's what I'm trying to tell you. We know it's a certain amount of money in the bank. We don't know how. No, I can't use that example. I want to say, well, we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but that's more like social, right? Okay. I'm going to come back to that thought to make it make sense. Or like let's pick on the grocery store. Say you got a couple of dollars, you know, with inflation been going up or down, it's like rolling dice, right? You go up in the grocery store, They got the oil. The cooking oil was $3. Now it's like $8, $7, right? So you'd be like, well, how much is the cooking oil going to cost, right? You don't know what it's going to cost, but you can say, well, it's going to cost A. You don't know the specific price, but you know it's going to cost A. It's going to cost something. So you know it's going to cost A. That means you got to have A amount of dollars in your pocket. If you ain't got A amount of dollars in your pocket, then you ain't going to be able to get that cooking oil. So look, right? What's A amount of dollars? Well, shit, $25. You know the cooking oil ain't going to be over 25. If you're talking about 16 ounces of cooking oil, you know 16 ounces of cooking oil not going to be over $25. So if you got $25 in your pocket, which is A is equal to $25, then you know that you're going to be able to get that cooking oil, right? But this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. What if you don't even know? You don't even know that the cooking oil, you don't know the price. Then you don't even know that it's A. Or it could be B. Or it could be two sideways stripes. Or it could be an arrow. But we use the alphabet, and they use also, we use Greek numbers. Not Greek numbers. We use the Greek alphabet. You can use any type of alphabet. I use the Arabic alphabet. But we use the American alphabet because it makes things simpler. But if you didn't even know there's something that you don't see, you can say, well, that's equal to A. Well, then what is A equal to? So then from slavery, you don't know. So you say, well, A is equal to whatever you want it to equal to. But it has to make sense within the environment that you're speaking on. But again, you got to create the environment. Okay. So we talking about a variable. A variable is an unknown. It's more than that, it's less than that. But for the sake of time, we're just going to say it represents the unknown. And we're going to use the American alphabet to describe it as far as if something is unknown. Sometimes I might use the Arabic alphabet. So it's just the context of what we're learning. So you got a variable, then you got multiple variables. Listen now, it's multiple variables. You got a variable, now it's multiple variables. Multiple variables. See what I'm saying? It's not just one variable, it's multiple variables. Then you might have a statement. This statement is a multiple variable statement. It's just dealing with basic arithmetic. Okay. Variable, multiple variables. We don't know what it is. How much does this eraser weigh? Right? That's the question. Listen to what the professor say now. The professor said, well, listen, you see this eraser right here? How much does it weigh? To the class or to the students. So everybody looking at each other like, we don't know. I don't know. No, that's not correct. When the professor asks you, how much does the eraser weigh? Well, you say, well, I ain't weighed it. I ain't got no scale to weigh it. So we initially know that the eraser weighs A. Well, what is A? Well, you got to weigh it. Then once you weigh it, you take the eraser, you put it on some type of scale, right? They give you a digital readout, and they'll tell you it weighs a certain amount of pounds. Now, right here, I use the Arabic symbol to represent pounds instead of putting a number. But before you weighed it, the weight of the eraser equal a variable, something unknown. You don't know how much it weighs. Not only that, I wrote out eraser, right? But I could say eraser. Instead of eraser, we're going to say eraser. Eraser equals ST. Instead of calling it eraser, we're going to call it ST. So then how much does ST weigh? How much does ST weigh? Well, ST weighs 8 pounds. Well, what is A? Well, you got to weigh it. And then once you weigh it, it'll give you a certain amount of pounds. Let's say that A weighs 2 pounds. So A equals 2 pounds. So ST weighs 2 pounds. Okay. Okay. So let us understand. We're talking about math analysis. We're talking about learning math. We're talking about mastery of mathematics. Now, I started out with, you see how long that took, right? I mean, it's not that it took a long time. It's just that, this can just go on and on and on and on and on. This is the only thing that's really good besides food. Okay. So we started out with this because I wanted to show you some foundations about like certain things you should keep in your notebook, and you should just refresh it because you're gonna need to use it over and over and over again in how you think. Again, we're talking about math analysis. So let me put it up here again. You got A, an unknown variable, and you got this symbol right here. You put variables into that symbol. Here it is again. You put variables into the symbol. And what this symbol does is called the absolute value. Let's see if we can get our absolute value. See if we can get our hands around this. You got a timeline, not a timeline. You have a one. You have a one-dimensional line. You got that. Now that's a whole separate thing, right? But you got all kinds of dimensions. Let's get it correct. You talk about air. If you're walking down a hallway, you could just go one way. You come to an intersection, you can go this way or you can go that way. When you talk about air, air just goes in all kinds of ways. So you can go this way, you can go that way, you can go that way, you can go that way. Okay, so what I'm seeing now is a structure, right? And I wasn't trying to get it too complicated until we actually get into the book. Okay, so it's math analysis, the absolute value. The absolute value, you have the symbol. It's just two straight lines with a space in between. This space in between is where variables go, or numbers. Now, what I was trying to show you is that you have a number line. You have zero, you have negative numbers, you have positive numbers. You have negative infinity, you have positive infinity. But you have negative, you have positive. Negative to the left, positive to the right. You got $3 over here, you then lost $3 over here. So you got -7, you got 7. That means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the opposite direction from 0. Now, what the absolute value symbol, it's a symbol. What the symbol does is that when you put 7 into here, it's either going to be -7 or +7. I'm going to do it again so we understand. You have absolute value. It's a symbol, or the absolute value symbol. It's just two straight lines with a space in between. You have variables that you can put in here. So you might have an absolute symbol with the variable A. You don't know where A is, but you know what the absolute symbols do to A. So you know that A is going to be positive A, it's going to be negative A. And what I mean is that the absolute value symbol, when you put a variable, negative and positive, the absolute value equates those two. So let's understand what it is. Listen to it. Absolute value, the purity of the number. It's a number that you can ascribe a certain characteristic to. You can make it positive, you can make it negative. Now the confusion is that when you talk about natural numbers. Natural numbers are positive, or we don't, as human beings, we don't necessarily, there is no such thing as a negative number. You have to go into a certain environment where you're dealing with negative numbers. Okay. So let's see if I can try, let me try it one more time to make it make sense. You have a variable. You have the absolute value symbol. You take this variable, unknown. You don't know what it is. You put it in there. What does that do? Well, what it does is, it's the absolute value. So it's equal to A, but it's also equal to negative A. See, it's the absolute value. The absolute value of a positive number is the number itself. The absolute value of a negative number is the number itself. We ascribe it to be positive. We ascribe it to be negative. My confusion is that if A is not positive and it's not negative, then what is it? You understand what I'm saying? That's a separate situation. I just seen that. But if it's not positive, then what is it? So I guess what they're saying is the absolute value of any number is its positivity. That's pretty heavy. So make sure you just think about that. The absolute value of any number, because we're talking about numbers. Let me do a number. We're using variables, and that's because of analysis, because you don't know what it is. So if it's an unknown, you got to sit and analyze what it is. Well, if it's a number, say 3, right? You got the absolute value symbol, so you put 3. Well, the absolute value of 3 is what? It's 3. Okay, but listen now. Why is it 3? Because the absolute value of a positive number is its positivity. Right? So look, we put in negative 3. Well, the absolute value of a number, regardless of the sign, is its positivity. That's powerful. So it's 3. They don't give it to you like that. They say that. Now, what I just said, I just said that and moved on. But look, remember that the absolute value of a number is its positivity. That just cut right through everything, right? So whether it be negative 4 or whether it be 4, if it's an absolute value, the absolute value of any number is its positivity. So they give you a negative 4, but what's the positive of the 4? Or the negative 4? 4. Right? So then you have negative 4 is equal to 4. Because that's 4 and that's 4. So then you have, right? So this is where it get good. So you might have like negative 3 plus 2 is equal to negative 2 plus 3. So this is negative 1 is equal to 1. Well, how is negative 1 equal to 1? Because it's the positivity of the number. It's the absolute value. The positivity of the number, the positivity of negative 1 is 1. The positivity of 1 is 1. So they're equal. And that's what this symbol does, the absolute value symbol. And look now, we just going over this, but when you start getting into analysis, you got to start looking at, well, this is negative 3 plus 2. -3. But right here you got 3 and a -2. But they're equal to each other. So let's do variables. Say you have -a plus b, the absolute value symbol. You got to maneuver this. You got to move it around and make it dance because you're trying to do something. You're trying to find a solution. So you can say -a plus b is equal to -b plus a. They're equal. And you can use this. And you need this to make your problem make sense. But you couldn't see it like this. Okay. So let's understand again. We're talking about the absolute value of a number or of a variable. So we're going to have the variable a. The absolute value of a is equal to plus a. The absolute value of a is equal to -a. So then we say if a is greater than 0, then the absolute value of a is a. If a is less than 0, then the absolute value of a is -a. Now, I have not, to be honest with you, I still don't understand that. I don't understand that. Because the absolute value of a is not equal to -a. The absolute value of a is equal to the positivity of the variable. You understand what I'm saying? The positivity of a is not -a, it's a. So how is the absolute value of a equal to -a? See, that's not what they're saying. See, it's analysis. See the tricknology. It's tricknology. That's not what they're saying. What they're saying is that, listen what I'm trying to tell you now. The book, and he's talking about books that cost $200 and $300. And they tell you that this right here is equal to a if a is greater than 0, -a if a is less than 0. Look now, you done 400 years. You ain't got no reparations or nothing. And look what they're trying to tell you now. So it's implied, brother and sister, what I'm trying to tell you is that the book, it's a book. It's not no robot. It's not interactive. Like you're not interacting with the book. It's implied. How are you going to pay $200 and $300 for a book after they done killed you? They ain't beat you down, they killed you. Now they're going to imply something. So, the absolute value of a is equal to a if a is greater than 0. It's equal to -a if a is less than 0. I done ran my mouth and I done forgot that thought about what this is because you got to understand what this is. When they give it to you like this, right? They're not saying okay. That's going to be complicated. But I'm going to touch on it a little bit. We deal with functions. Functions. Now, I want to say this, right? When I write something on the board, you should write it down. Now, because I don't have a whole lot for you to write. It's just big ABC letters. I done took the time. I'm just now studying, and like in a certain environment for a couple of years, but I've been studying for a long time, right? On my own, like I've been studying for a long time. I just ain't had the correct knowledge to make it make sense until now. So I done simplified everything. Everything is real simple. All you have to do is write down what I'm showing you, and then you got to study it. You got to research it. You got to find out what's going on. But it's called functions. It's a function. So you can use your everyday knowledge. You know what a function is. It's the same with mathematics. It does something. When something has a function. If you're a janitor, what's your function as a janitor of this building? Well, your function is to keep the building clean. So then you have a system. We're talking about physical system, like the universe, the air, the trees, the wind blowing, the birds, the clouds. You got protons and neutrons. You got an atom. So let's pick on an atom. The atom is the building block of everything. You plant an atom into some soil, symbolic soil, and you tell that atom how you plant it. Well, I want to create a human being. And that atom will grow that human being. Say you want to do a planet. You say, well, look, we got however many planets we got in the universe. Now, God's not going to let you destroy what he created. But if you're going to add to the beauty of a law, then God will let you do that. So you say, well, look, I got these atoms. I'm going to put it in space and make it grow into a planet. Right? So that's the atom. But say it like this, right? Well, how fast does the atom travel? Look now, look at what I just asked you. How fast does the atom travel? Because we can't really know what it looked like. I mean, you can from an abstract situation. But how fast does the atom travel? Well, you don't know. So we know from what we just learned, we could just put a variable on it. Well, we know it travels a speed, 8 miles. 8 miles per hour or per second. It travels 8 miles per second. Variable. You don't know. Well, you do know, you just got to find out. So until you find out, it travels 8 miles per second. So then you have a function. Say it travels 8 square miles per second. Here go your A, and then here go your function. Activity is my point. What does the math describe for what the atom does? Right? That's all it is. Let's do it again. You have a function. This is what the function looks like. Functions can look like a whole lot of things. But initially, at this level, this is what the function looks like. One variable. Notice how it's multiple variables. What is f? Right? You don't even know what f is. What is x? Well, x is the independent variable. It's what's moving. So we say, look, I walk 3 miles per second. So x miles per second. So that's a function. Okay. So I don't know, because I got to really get into that too, right? Let me understand for a second. Okay, let's just go back to the absolute value. So you might have a function, and the function will say it equals 3 when x is equal to 3. It equals 0 when x not equal to 3. So when f3, when this variable x equals 3, this function, the activity, system activity, that's all a function does. A function describes system activity. How fast is the electricity going to the computer? How fast are you running? How fast is the space shuttle going into the space? How fast is the wind blowing? How fast are the trees growing? How fast is the plant growing? How fast is the electricity traveling through the wires? System activity. How much energy are you getting from these electrons? How much water is flowing through this tunnel? System activity. So when this unknown variable, or when this variable, you don't know, but we just defined it, when it equals 3, this function is equal to 3. When it's not equal to 3, that means you got a whole, you got from negative infinity to infinity. Numbers just go on forever. But look how God make it easy for you. God say, well, look, when it's not equal to this one number, if you draw a number line, you got 0, 1, 2, 3. You got the negative numbers to negative infinity, and this goes on to infinity. When this variable, x, unknown, but you say it's equal to 3, when it's not equal to 3, it could be equal to any other number. This function equals 0. System activity. Look now, we had to define that. We defined that. Didn't nobody give this to us. We said the variable x, we said it was a function f, we say x equal to 3, it's going to be 3, x not equal to 3, it's going to be 0. We had to learn how to do that. Because of slavery, we was waiting for somebody to tell us what x is. x3, slave. Tell us what x is. X is not equal to 3, slave. So you got to put your brain back together. Okay, why do I say all of that? This is why I say that, right? We're still talking about absolute value. And we came out with a heaven-fied definition of what absolute value means. Absolute value is the positivity of the number or the variable. That means whatever you put inside the absolute value symbol, it's the positivity of that number. Powerful. Let's look at what they say. They say that this right here, the absolute value of A, is equal to A when A is greater than 0, or is equal to negative A when A is less than 0, right? So I was looking at that, I was like, look, shit, I'm not dumb. I know, even I know what this is, right? But no, that don't make no sense. Because if the absolute value of a variable is equal to its positivity, then it's not equal to negative A. See, this is a function mentality thinking. This is a function mentality, how I was thinking, function mentality thinking. That's not what they saying. What they saying is, Now, you can define it, or the problem can define it, or the mathematical environment can define it. It's a whole lot of dynamics. But really what they're saying is that when A is less than 0, it's not that the absolute value of A is equal to negative A. They saying that the A inside they saying that the A inside the absolute value is equal to negative A.